And that's when I grabbed him right by his pips and said, "Plant these, Percival."
Oh, not the pips. Oof. Oh, dear. Oh, dearie me. Oh, dearie me.
Anyway, it now grows at the end of my garden, and you can hear the screams at midnight.
That's not good. That's not good at all.
Do you know what else isn't good?
What?
Big Damn Cast, everybody. Welcome aboard. Brand new episode. We are back to something which used to be a novelty every year on this show, which was remote records, panto time. It used to be something that was, this is a thing we're doing, I guess, during this period. But then we spent most of 2020 and early 2021 also doing it. So it never left, and we were kind of glad to see the back of it. And alas, earwax. Here we are, doing this shit again. But it does mean I get to gaze at my computer screen, and instead of seeing what I usually see on there, big heaving breasts and throbbing members, and more betwixt and in between, I get to stare at the face of a lovely, young and handsome man on my computer.
And also me. Boy. I wish I saw this other person on the chat.
That's the boy. We keep him in a box and whip him out for special occasions. My name is Christopher Force Chili Burp Johnson.
And my name is Mud.
Why Mud?
It's always been.
And always ever shall be.
Because I'm the meanest son of a bitch there ever was. I dressed in blue, navy blue, from head to toe.
Okay, I see where we're going with this. Wasn't expecting it, but I'll take it. We are here to bring you news, geeky gossip, and other stuff to fill your time on the long and winding road towards our inevitable demise, and yours, dear listener. Spoiler
the long and winding road, bum bum,
bing bing,
that leads to oblivion,
and any other Elder Scrolls game. Hi. Quite a few bits of bobs happened this week, and we can talk about them coming up. Spoiler-free review of Ghostbusters Afterlife. We've also got spoiler-free. Don't worry, spoiler-free. Spoiler-free. We're also going to chat about the latest episode of the Doctor Who Flux series, Doctor Who Village of the Angels.
Oh, Doctor Who, what a cluster flux.
God, that's good.
I know it's good.
That's really good.
It's very good.
I wish it was the title.
I wish it was the title. You can make it the title.
I could, but I shan't.
Bastard!
Yeah, well. No, but the title will probably have something to do with angels, and they'll be in the thumbnail and all that shit, so. That which holds the image of an angel itself becomes an angel, etc.
That which holds the image of an angel itself becomes a plot device. Let's go, carry on.
What else happened this week? What other shit churned out of the mill?
Fuck all happened. I've been busy.
You've been a busy boy. You've been working hard, or hardly working, but only the first one.
What else
do you hear about Bobby Kotick and the Activision Blizzard bullshit?
Fuck that guy.
Mad, isn't
That's all we're going to say about that.
So mad. Hey, folks, if you're thinking, go on, I'll pick up Call of Duty again this year, maybe don't for once. Maybe don't. Just for once. It's really annoying as well, because I'm like, I'm curious about Overwatch 2, but the rest of my brain is going, but not curious enough to pay a bunch of serial sexual harassers, allegedly, to get more money. So
we all know Bobby Kotick's a piece of shit. We didn't need to have it confirmed. Like this.
Thricefold, in a way. Thricefold. Thrice and folds. Up the folds. Up the ziggurat, lickety split.
What else happened? Oh, I watched...
go on.
I watched Midnight Mass on Netflix.
Right, okay. Yeah, right. So this is the new thing by...
Mike Flanagan.
Mike Flanagan, yes. Dr. Sleep.
Dr. Sleep,
Oculus.
Haunted of Hill House, Oculus.
Yeah.
Haunted of Bly Manor, which I've not seen.
What is this show? Is it episodic? Is it a serial? What is it? Well, tell me more.
It's a 7-episode series. 7 and done.
About?
No, That's all you're getting.
Imagine,
It's 7 episodes, and that's it. No,
it's available, and you can watch it.
It's available. You can watch it now. It is
right now.
It's a small fishing island, a small island with a fishing community in somewhere in New England.
Yes.
Someone's been reading Stephen King.
Yeah.
Mike Flanagan. So it's very Mike Flanagan. It's the most Mike Flanagan show. Small island about 30 miles off the coast of New England. Small fishing community there, but it's been sort of financially gutted by an oil spill a few years back, which has killed their fishing quotas. So there's about 100. There's less than 200 people living on the island. Mm-hmm. And there's only one church, it's a Catholic church, and the priest there, the Monsignor Pruitt, he is in his 80s. He's suffering from dementia, so he's been sent by the community off to on a pilgrimage to Damascus to sort of see if he can get any better. He doesn't come back. Instead, Father Paul Hill is sent by the Catholic Church, ostensibly while Father Pruitt is recovering in hospital before he returns to his parish. At the same time as a young son of the island by the name of Riley, who has been in prison for the last 5 years for a DUI manslaughter, which keeps him awake. Which haunts him every night by him seeing the vision of the girl he killed on the tarmac once again. Every night before he goes to sleep, she's there, glass in her face, emergency service lights reflecting off her. So that's what creeps him tonight. He comes back to the island at the same time, and so he's trying to, reintegrate into island life, and this very Catholic community has the upheaval of a new father. But this new father quickly becomes very popular. He's very good with people. And it's to the point where people start enjoying Mass more and more. And there's a young girl on the island who was paralysed in an accident a few years back. Mm-hmm. And the priest decides to make her come and get the communion from him. And then go back up the stairs to the altar and make her come and get it from him. And she does. She gets out of a chair and she walks over and gets the communion.
What?
And she didn't know she could. But it's just the beginning of some weird shit going down on the island. And yeah, maybe Father Hill isn't who he seems. Maybe there's something going on that is a little more, shall we say, supernatural. Yeah.
You mean it's not based in medical science?
It's not based in medical science, mate.
What are you talking about? This sounds perfectly legitimate and completely what could happen day to day.
It's very good. It's got a cracking cast. And it is the most Mike Flanagan thing, as I said, because it is mostly a series of monologues about the various themes of the series delivered by the characters in just mesmerising fashion. Because it's a Mike Flanagan project, so of course it's got Kate Siegel in it. Because,
that's kind of a given at this point.
If you're married to Kate Siegel, why wouldn't you put her in your things? You know what I mean?
Isn't it weird how we excuse that for some directors, but for others we're like, really? Another Resident Evil from you two?
That's because she's good, though, isn't it? Kate Siegel, good. Mila Jovovich,
fine.
Zach Gilford's Riley Flynn. He's great. Samantha Sloyan's in it. She's like the holier than thou rector of the church, and she's fucking wonderfully despicable. Rahul Kohli plays the sheriff, who's like a Muslim sheriff dealing with a very Catholic town. Mm-hmm. And it's like he's moved away from the big city and specifically requested a smaller posting because of Islamophobia on the mainland. Annabeth Gish, great. And Henry Thomas, again, from his part of the Mike Flanagan Players, he's returning. And Hamish Linklater as Father Paul Hill is fucking magnificent. Like, really, really, really very, very good indeed. So yeah, it's a great series. 7 episodes, give it a watch. It's good stuff. I can guarantee that you will be surprised by the path it takes.
Okay. You had me at Mike Flanagan. You had me at Michael Finnegan.
It's one of those, at the end of one of the early episodes, about halfway through the series, you're like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was. This is something else completely. But I'm fucking here for it. And it goes on to do a really good version of that. So yeah.
So when you say it's one and done, it's it's contained. This is the story. It's you're in, you're out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's basically a 7-hour long film.
Okay. Netflix.
Yeah.
Is this instead of doing another haunting of blah blah blah, or
Quite
is this
possibly
a separate project?
Quite possibly, because Mike Flanagan, Kate Siegel, Henry Thomas, Netflix. Yeah, there's another haunting project, I guess. But I didn't see The Haunting of Bly Manor, so I don't know how thematically it leads on.
Yeah, I don't know if any of them do, other than just sort of.
Oh no,
there's some same talent crossing, and that's kind of it, really.
I think they're thematically they deal with the same sort of themes. And
steam trains,
but obviously not narratively. Yeah, so I think they have. Shut up. I think they have shared DNA in the sort of writing of them, but
okay.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like long form Inside Number 9 kind of stuff. Like the same minds are going to come up with this, but every other year and 7 or 8 episodes. So what's it called one more time for those who want to catch it?
Midnight Mass.
A Devil in a Midnight Mass. Who was that?
Billy Talent.
There we go. Big
Great
Billy
song.
Billy.
Great
It's
song.
a cracking song.
Doesn't appear in the series. Upon which it is not based.
Do you know what else is a great song that doesn't appear in its most recent release?
Uh-oh.
Ghostbusters
What?
by Ray Parker Jr.
Oh, are you telling me that Ghostbusters Afterlife does not contain the song Ghostbusters by Ray Parker Jr.?
It doesn't contain the song, although at least once in the film it uses the music of it. So at one point that appears in it, but at no point do you hear Ray Parker Jr. singing.
Well, Christopher, tell me.
Don Miguel.
Ghostbusters Afterlife did busting make you feel good?
It's a movie. That's my review. It's a movie. No, that just sounds harsh. That makes it sound like I didn't like it. I liked it quite a bit, but
it's a movie, baby.
I had an odd experience with Ghostbusters Afterlife because the film fan in me, who just wanted to have a nice time out at the cinema, had a nice time at the cinema.
Yeah.
I was with a pal I'd not seen in a while. He was up for it, so we were in a really nice sort of space for it. The Ghostbusters fan in me was interested with the directions it took us in continuing on that world from Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2, from 1984 and 1989 respectively. And the film studies creative podcaster who does so much research into all the world of how these things come together in me thought it was fucking pathetic. It's really weird to be... I'm sat directly on the fence with it.
That's
reasons...
That's a stark fucking...
Yeah.
That's a divide right there.
Yeah,
that's a chasm.
It is
might
a very...
say of opinion.
For those basic reasons. No spoilers going forward. We'll talk about that in a future episode. But
yeah, I'm going to try and see it this weekend, so hopefully we can talk about it spoiler-free. I'm going to try and see it tomorrow as of this recording.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Well, hopefully we can talk about it next week.
It's for me, it's a solid 2.5-star jobby. Because everything that works in its favour works incredibly well. Everything that you kind of was like, oh, they're going to do that, aren't they? Yeah, they do all of it, and it's sort of like, oh, you didn't surprise me. But, so you've got really good, kind of predictable, and then you have the, oh, this is what the studio thinks we want element, which is insulting, really. It's odd. Without going into specifics over why, and I don't want you to overanalyze it when you go in, I'll just leave it at this. The Force Awakens did way more damage than we realised. Yeah. And I'll leave it at that. It's just Sony have gone, oh, that! And decided to stake their claim on that. It's something that happens in this movie. It's something I can already sense is going to happen in the upcoming Spider-Man No Way Home. The member berries were planted.
Indeed they were.
Yeah, in a way where it's like, okay, substance, actual new things. As a result, the first 2/3 of the movie are the strongest part of the movie because it relies solely on the new things. So the plot, as we see from the trailers, and again, I won't go into it too much, is Carrie Coon plays a woman called Callie, who's a single mother to her kids, Trevor, played by Finn Wolfhard, and Phoebe, played by McKenna Grace, who is actually the main character of the movie. And suffers from a horrendous back injury from carrying this whole damn thing. That's not to say there's a bad cast, but like, you go into this thinking it's going to be the story of a single mum coming to terms with her late father's hermit-esque life away from the family, and what it ends up really being is a story about how Phoebe is freaking great, and McKenna Grace, who is, I think, 15, so would have been 13 at the time of shooting this.
Oh god, yeah, it was shot like 3 years ago nearly, wasn't it?
Carries a blockbuster on her shoulders and absolutely smashes it. So, regardless of however the film makes you feel, folks, you're going to come away from it going, can she be in more things? Because she's great.
What have I seen her in?
Let's have a little look at McKenna Grace's filmography. She's been in a fair amount of stuff at this point. She was in... did voices for the Angry Birds movie. She was in Independence Day Resurgence. She was one of the leads in Annabelle Comes Home. She was young Carol in the flashbacks in Captain Marvel.
No, Keeks has just filled me in on her Handmaid's Tale thing, which I have seen actually.
Yep, she's in Handmaid's Tale. She's been one of those actors. She was a young Sabrina in Chilling Adventures of Sabrina in an episode or two. Like, in fact, she was in The Haunting of Hill House. So there you go. She's one of those actors who's been in a lot since she was a kid, and luckily is very much I can see why. She's really got screen presence and can carry it. All right. Yeah, so Callie moves with her kids. Trevor, up for it, but is just here because of cynical studio reasons to make you think of a different project. Finn Wolfhard, who's having fun, who's having fun, but is like, not really, is not making an impact on the story at all, really. And Phoebe, played by McKenna Grace. They arrive at the farmhouse of Phoebe's estranged grandfather after he passes away in what she thinks is a mysterious circumstance, as does her new friend at summer school, Podcast, played by Logan Kim. Yes, that name is obnoxious. Yes, the performance is good enough that you don't give a shit. Okay. Logan Kim is really good. He's a really, really good child actor as well. Investigating her grandfather's farmhouse a little bit while her mum tries to make the most out of any financial gain they can get from it, considering they're struggling and they've been left this shithole. Phoebe learns, alongside Podcast, learns that there's way more to the reason her grandfather passed away than meets the eye. Yeah. And it may have something to do with an older job of his that he abandoned about 20 years ago with no explanation. So the title of the movie kind of tells you exactly what this character may or may not, who this character may or may not have been, and what their job may or may not have been. The work they do in the first 2/3 to set up a mystery is going to play brilliantly to younger audiences who are vaguely aware of Ghostbusters, and will really set up something special for them. For big fans of the original film, and even number 2, like myself, I am very intrigued as to the reason why a certain person moved out to the middle of nowhere, and what their final kind of day was. It's done very, very well, and it's shot very, very tastefully, and is like, okay, I see what you've done here. This is interesting.
I like it when it's tasteful.
We do see some familiar faces, as you see in the trailer. Annie
Potts pops up in the trailer, doesn't she?
And yeah, Annie Potts rocks up as Janine Melnitz, who you realise was the one kind of looking after the financial affairs of the house in question, because the occupant of said house wasn't really good at keeping an eye on that stuff and was focusing on other things. There are a few other familiar faces that you will see pop up. Your reaction will vary from either, oh, that was really nice, to, well, that was obvious. Why did they do that? Strong, chewy, we're home vibes, but not in a satisfying way. Just
right.
Okay, cool.
So less satisfying Force Awakens.
Yeah, because that's the thing. The Force Awakens was pretty good. Like, it was a palate cleanser that very softly, its plot very softly rebooted A New Hope, did A New Hope again, because it wanted to sort of remind you, so detached 30, 40 years from the original, like, what the vibe of this world was that made you fall in love with it in the first place. So its plot is really similar, but its story is about a defecting stormtrooper and a resistance pilot who's like really trying to get the job done and get stuck in, and a girl abandoned on a junk world who may or may not be more than meets the eye, and charges into this world head first. And we meet a bunch of people along the way that have dealt with this stuff before that we as viewers may recognise if we've seen the other movies. And it's this fun ride where old meets new, but by the end of it, you're left in a place where you go, cool, let's see where they go with this next. And let's follow these newer characters and see what happens now. This movie is also that. The plot of the movie is basically the plot of Ghostbusters 1984. The story, for the first 2/3, is the story of Phoebe and her trying to connect to the grandfather she never knew, and Callie and her dealing with the baggage of that, and also Trevor's here in town, I guess. And then the final third... And then the final third goes, yeah, fuck that. We're going to focus on the plot as well now. And but you already know how this works, so we're going to do the Cliff Notes version. And it's kind of like, oh, that's a shame.
Okay.
The strength of this is its patience in the first 2/3. It takes its time. This is very much a Jason Reitman movie. It is an indie drama that is funnier than the trailers have led you to believe. It is funny. It is a funny movie, but it isn't an out-and-out comedy. It's a coming-of-age youth film with a nice comedy through line. There are moments of horror, as there should be in a Ghostbusters movie, but they are quite few. There are... Oh, Matt, there's so many member berries. There's so many just like, did you... Huh? And some are subtle, like the use of the soundtrack, and some... not so much, like the tiny little Stay Puffs you've seen in the trailer. There is a lot... it sounds like I'm really harsh on it, but it's you're going to get something out of it. You're absolutely going to get something out of it. But I think you'll also be able to smell the Amy Pascal sausage and remember how it's made. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of... It's an odd one. It's an odd duck. Massive shouts out to Paul Rudd as the summer school science teacher Gary Gruberson. he is instantly great, and you watch him in this movie and you go, God, he's brilliant, isn't he? Wouldn't he have made a good Ghostbuster if they were just doing one set now?
He would.
Because he ain't that in this. If you can, he's got great chemistry with the child actors as well. Like, they all bounce off each other really well. There's a couple of familiar faces in there that might be hard to spot. Bokeem Woodbine, who was a really fun shocker in Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yeah.
He pops up as a really sort of shitty sheriff in the local jail. He gets like one big scene. He's the closest thing this film gets to having like a Walter Peck kind of character, and he does a really good job with it. Keep your eyes peeled or your ears open for Josh Gad. That's one of the harder ones to spot.
What?
J.K. Simmons.
Okay.
That is a blink and you'll miss it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And toughest of all, an uncredited Olivia Wilde. So if you're going to see the movie, try and keep an eye and an ear out for Olivia Wilde, J.K. Simmons, and Josh Gad. Ask me anything you want to ask, and I'll answer spoiler-free before we wrap up on this one. Because I don't want people to not go see it based on my reaction. I think everyone will get something from it. But if you're any kind of cinema head, you're going to spot you're going to see the dots they've connected and go, someone else already did this. Why are you just doing it again? 2.5 stars. Solid 5 out of 10.
Does it, obviously
Yes.
without giving context, does it acknowledge any other canon other than the first two films?
It mostly acknowledges only the canon of the 1984 movie, but one of the characters, as seen in the second trailer, is in a location that confirms the second movie still counts. So a certain person's New York business is confirmation that yes, the second movie did happen.
Cool.
This is what they are doing now. And there is also a big visual shout out to the real Ghostbusters and the action figures in particular.
Okay.
So there's a little, it's Ghostbusters. This is a sequel to Ghostbusters 1 and 2, but if you're a fan of the real Ghostbusters, there's a little something in there for you as well.
Does it contradict or otherwise invalidate the video game?
Yes and no, because the video game. So in the in the original film, there's rumor that Ivo Shandor and a bunch of his followers are buried in Central Park.
Yeah.
Near the hotel, which he built as a monument to Gozer the Gozerian and setting up all that stuff as a conductor for the rituals and the ascension of Gozer and everything, the coming of the Destructor and all that.
Okay. Okay.
Ghostbusters, the video game, has all of his stuff in an exhibit and mentions that he's he was from somewhere else. This muddies it even further by confirming that Shandor's body was not in New York. But you could just chalk that up to the information in the first film was incorrect. So, they were reading books about this bloke from the early 1900s getting into Satan worship, so it could be incorrect.
The situation is developing, shall we say?
Yeah, like you could play Ghostbusters the video game and watch this and not be too jarred. You could still be like, yeah, these four stories, the four stories about these versions of the Ghostbusters.
Okay.
Ooh, okay.
Do I need to stay after the credits?
You need to stay during and after the credits.
Okay.
It's a Sony movie in the year of our Lord 2021. They want a series. Sony want a franchise. They want it bad. I was sort of surprised at the beginning when the Ghost Core logo came back up, and I was like,
no,
okay,
no.
Well, I don't hate that just because, like, a producer on this is Ivan Reitman, who was given basically the Ghost Core to develop stuff.
Oh, I suppose. Yeah.
After he was shoved out of the production of whatever the third movie was going to be, which of course ended up being the remake. And then he was given that to work on an animated project and other stuff, and then that got tanked because of the remake doing so poorly, critically and financially overseas. So they just didn't do it. So this is a sign that, like, okay, he'll get to make some stuff, but it's also, oh, I see. So that this isn't it. The film doesn't necessarily end with a what's gonna happen next, but there is a thread that you're like, if they want to tell more stories, that's what they'll use.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anything else I want to know about this? I don't think there is anything else I want to know about this.
I could give you one that's not even a spoiler, it's more just a reassurance that they're not just recycling everything.
Yeah.
Ask me if Slimer's in the movie.
Chris, is Slimer in the movie?
No.
Yeah!
I know, I'm really happy about that. Slimer's not in the fucking film.
Is the invisible blowjob ghost in the movie?
They could be. I might have just not seen them, but
okay.
No, there are a couple of spectral entities we've seen before in this film. One you've spotted in the trailer.
Spentities.
Yeah, but Slimer, I'm only letting you know this just because I'm giving you an example of some people who made this had restraint, because that is such an obvious one for them to do, but they don't do him, and it's like, well done. We get sort of a not successor to the Slimer throne, but we get a new kind of like, oh, that's a similar kind of,
a pet
full torso apparition, and not so much a pet. You don't want to keep this one around, but it is worked into the film's genuinely most interesting Ghostbusters specific sequence, which is the car chase you see in the trailers. That is fantastic. That is really, really cool. Because you just go, oh shit, this is something that they would have probably done in one of the other two at some point, had they the tech to pull this sort of thing off a bit more in the late 80s. And it's a genuinely really interesting set piece. But all the other stuff that's really cool isn't necessarily Ghostbusters specific. It's more character driven, and especially is about Phoebe. So yeah, you'll want Paul Rudd as your summer school teacher after this. You'll be like, he's great. Can he be in more things? There's a moment in it that is either a really cynical product placement tie-in or a funny little nod to Ant-Man.
Well, it's the former.
Yeah, but it works also as the latter. So it's like, okay, that's cute. That's cute. All I'm going to say is Baskin Robbins always finds out. So
ants.
Yeah, ants. Ant-Man. That's some of the best marketing for a movie recent years.
Jesus.
Go see it tomorrow. Have a fucking great time, and report back next week with spoilers.
I better have a great time. If I don't have a great time, I am specifically blaming you.
No, you're going to enjoy it more than I did. I think you're going to enjoy it more than I, because you can sort of take off your studio analysis hat a bit more than I can and go like, fuck that. I like that bit. That was good.
Are you saying I'm a simpleton?
No, but I'm saying you've got some of your dad's like desire to enjoy movies.
I do like. I do generally want to enjoy things. Yes, this is the.
When you get to the point where you're like watching the random shit DVD that he's picked up near the counter of Morrison's, and you're also enjoying it. That's when we're like, he's too far gone, boys and girls.
I mean,
his critical eye has completely vanished.
I mean, I can enjoy some of those. That's for sure. I can enjoy a mockbuster. Well, I wouldn't go that far actually.
Depends on the mockbuster. In it, sniff
right.
TM.
We've done some busting.
He's gonna segue.
Let's do some dusting off the old Doctor Who segment. Oh, that was tortured. That was tortured and difficult.
Matt
Just
and Chris,
like
two lifelong Doctor Who fans. Is that a preview?
No, actually, I quite like this one.
You know what? You and I, based on so we're recording this, folks, on Monday the 22nd. Happy birthday, Doctor Who, for tomorrow, I guess. From what the reactions I've seen so far, from sort of the usual set, I think we're in a bit of a minority with this one. Like, maybe I'm just reading the wrong corners of the internet, but I see a lot of people getting, thrilled by some of the concepts in Village of the Angels, but mostly kind of like, I don't understand what's happening. And I'm like, for the first time in ages, I kind of get the plot now. Like, I kind of get it. There's still stuff unanswered, and I really hope that weeks 5 and 6 don't shit the bed. Like, I really hope weeks 5 and 6 actually stick the landing.
That's what worries me.
Yeah, I at least feel like we're going in a direction now.
I feel I would have really, really liked this episode.
Yeah.
If it wasn't a part of something bigger. Like, if it didn't have the cutaways to Belle and had a more self-contained plot structure, I think I'd really dig it. Because there's a lot of good stuff in there. There's a lot of good atmospherics. There's a lot of good, creepy stuff. There's a lot of neat concepts and sort of neat developments of the angel concept.
Chibnall remembers that the angels are, by their very nature, quite cruel and sadistic as well, which I was very happy about. Because whenever they're just written as like, oh, they're an apex predator, it's like, cool, but what made them especially interesting in Blink, and even more so in Time of Angels, Flesh and Stone, is they're nasty pieces of shit. Like, by their nature, they are horrible. They like to mock and taunt their victims. Like, the Lonely Assassins game does an amazing job with that and leaning into it. And this, that was, I know what you mean. A story about the angels that we got last night, that was really cool. And I think the stuff with Belle was also really cool, but I know what you mean. The episode as a whole would stand the test of time more if it was just we've ended up in this village in the 60s. Weeping Angels here. What's going on? Like that. Yeah, none of the time space. Was it the something? The how was it called now? The Plowed of the Neutron Trail or something.
Yes.
Yeah. The temporal something or other, the whatever. The city falling apart, the world falling apart around the town. Because one thing that Belle's plot did really nicely, spoilers ahead, what Belle's plot did really, 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 really nicely was actually kind of show us what the after effects of parts of the universe are that have been hit by the flux, by this storm of unmaking.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just completely removed worlds from existence, sometimes it's just skimmed them. So it's like, the place where she's gone, hoping to find Vinda, is half a planet that normally had like 3 suns and 2 moons, and now has like a moon and 2 and a bit suns, and it's like,
which isn't how moons or suns or planets work, but it's Doctor Who, so who cares?
Not in our solar system, Sally.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, again, the whole overarching flux plot just feels like it isn't going anywhere. To me,
yeah, the flux to me is the most, as interesting as it is to see how the societies that have escaped it are surviving, and how the warmongers who are around it are now taking advantage of the confusion and death. If you took the flux out of this series, it would streamline it for the better. And if it was just, these 2 motherfuckers are going around doing horrid shit to people, and apparently some at the beginning of creation, like where time and space met, like it's something to do with it, and the Doctor was involved and doesn't remember it, so it's now up to her now to go through these different trials and side things to find the clues that will help her crack the case. Like, if it was just that, it'd be like, yeah, sure. But then they've added the flux, and yeah. And again, like I said, it makes me sad that that's the case, because I think some of the strongest stuff now for 2 weeks, in terms of the performance especially, has been the stuff with Belle. I think she's been really interesting.
It's not the plot that I'm interested in. And when you set up an episode which has a plot, as most episodes should, and when you set up an episode that has a plot, you want to follow that plot. I don't want to follow an overarching thing that doesn't like it's one thing doing like little before the credits teasers or stingers or like cold open like stingers, but to just
or even creepy mid credit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But to completely halt the momentum of a story that you're actually invested in, to go off and do something with a character you barely know. For me, it just kind of kills the momentum of the episode. So I think there's a lot to like.
War of the Sontarans balanced it better because it felt like you had the Sontarans. Something's gone wrong with time and space, and these Sontarans are taking advantage by going, we're going to stick ourselves here in human history and change the course of history.
Well, it balanced it better,
and you deal with that
by having the other plots be Yaz and Dan.
Yeah, Dan's connecting directly to the main plot, and Yaz is being here's the bonus thread that will lead into next week. Whereas, this week is everybody's in the same confusing mess. Two of them get separated and just spend most of it going, right, don't blink then. Here we go, don't blink. Oh, there's a little girl. She says, don't blink. Some of that, I think the stuff that worked this week was probably the influence of Maxine Alderton. Coming back after the haunting of Villa Diadotti.
Which was great,
which was great up until it tied itself really heavily into the finale for me. I enjoyed it up until it was like, this is leading into the finale. I was like, oh, that sucks, because if this was just a story about Mary Shelley, Lord Byron, and the night where they all allegedly went missing, and it was the story of something coming from the future, whether it was a Kit Bash Cyberman or not, it's like, that to me is a better self-contained story. And then this one is like, wow, angels in a village in the 60s sending people to exactly the same year, 1901, just before. I wonder what that mystery's all about. Apparently they've been here at these certain dates in history. I wonder what that is all about. Oh, wait, now we've got to tie it into the overarching plot somehow, kind of, in a way. And it's like, I stand by what I said last week, which is, I think this is going to be the first series that when it ends, we're all collectively as an audience going to go, that would have been better if you just put it all on iPlayer on the first day. Yeah. Like, it feels like a... So when Lucy and I watched Stranger Things Series 1, we binged it. We were like, go on, we've not done one of these before, let's binge it. We binged it, and we had a great time. And then for Series 2 and 3, we spread it out a little bit. We watched like 2 episodes, and then a few days later we watched another 2. And I did find myself losing interest in the things that happened in individual episodes.
Yeah.
Because some stuff would just be like, and? Right? And you could even, in some of them, you could even match it. You could be like, all right, so like Steve, for example, in this episode, goes through events that take an hour. But it goes through 2 episodes for him, and everyone else has done like a road trip over here, and it's just like, this only works if you watch it in a big chunk, and you're just sort of absorbing it as one big thing, really.
Yeah.
And I feel like Flux so far is the first ever Doctor Who thing, outside of a classic serial, that is screaming, you should probably have watched this all in one go.
I think even the classic serials, though, because they're shorter episodes, and the stories... So the story of a 45-minute episode of Modern Who is sort of the same in scope as a 4-episode serial from Classic Who.
Yeah.
Even though it's half the length.
Yeah.
But because that 100-minute story is broken up into 4 25-minute segments, each of those has its own structure. And they were much better at writing for those individual structures. Whereas this is 6-hour-longs, so it's 6-hour-long segments, but each individual segment is not as... It doesn't have its own set structure. It's
been written to binge, and then someone's gone, no, we're putting one out a week. Oh, it's too late now. We've already made it. Come on, then. Off we go. And it's like, oh, all right.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not as keen.
And it makes me wonder what it would have been had we got the original 8-episode miniseries we were promised.
Better, probably.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
longer,
I wonder how much was ditched, and therefore how much was compromised. Because as far as like the technical execution of it, it looks great, and it you can't feel the COVID compliance stuff of late 2020 in it, really. There's no obvious kind of, this has been done with, like I think it was Doctors I saw a few weeks ago where like, it was really obvious how they'd done it because they'd have people way in the foreground in two-person conversations separated by something between them. But one of the directors was trying to put a bit of flair on it and was using a lot of like focus pull-in and everything. Yeah. And it just made it look like people were CGI'd or green screened on to another shot of another person. It was like, that's weird. Whereas this, with this one, it feels very much like, no, this is business as usual on a technical level. What did you think of the resolution of who Claire was from episode 1? Because I was a bit
care.
Yeah, I was a bit miffed that it wasn't someone that had actually met them before. Because this gives us the explanation that she's from 2021.
Yeah.
And she's vaguely psychic, which, to be fair, Doctor Who has done classic and new series. They've had it where there are people who have psychic abilities, and it's just sort of explained as like, sometimes the universe hiccups and someone ends up with the ability to connect to things on a psionic level, and it's how it is. And it's apparently when she saw Yaz and the Doctor in the first episode, she was taken aback, not because she'd met them before, but because she'd had visions of them before.
Yeah.
And now it makes her reaction in that episode feel weird, because her reaction would be, "Oh my God, you're real." I have so many questions, and have them be like, "We're really sorry, but we're in the middle of some," and instead then push her away in the pacing of it all.
Yeah.
And then she gets captured. Whereas in this, it makes it clear that like, no, she just walked up to him and was like, "Oh hi, oh yeah, the ones in my dream. Okay, cool. You've not met me yet." What do you mean you've not met me yet? You don't know what? Huh? What a weird choice of phrase. It's very odd. And I don't think it's the actor's fault. I think she does a pretty great job in this. But especially continuing Chibnall, especially considering Chibnall's trope of monster possesses person to talk through them. Which was kind of cool, but yeah, it's a bit upsetting because I love the bit at the beginning where she was like taking the test or whatever with Professor Billy Big Billy Sticks. Played by Pirates of the Caribbean's very own Mr. Badger. That is an obscure ass reference for anyone who's ever listened to the commentary for Curse of the Black Pearl. And I recommend it because it's back when they used to do that for DVDs, and the cast are having a fucking ball doing it.
Good.
Good. But yeah, he's Kevin McNally making his second Doctor Who appearance.
Because why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you? Well, when you've been in the Twin Dilemma, I think you'd be scratching at the chance to be in a better one at some point, wouldn't you?
Yeah, quite.
Like, for the love of shit, please let me be in a different one at some point. We're going to make you wait 30-odd years. Oh, God, no. That's his cliffhanger. He's been waiting 30-odd years. He was fun. Claire was fun. I like the idea of him running the tests and the was it the spectrograph?
Something like that.
Can't remember what it's called now, but that machine being like she's lying, or at least she believes she believes something else other than what she's saying. And I like the idea of that being sort of unequivocal proof that she's from a different time. Is that she's saying like, so what year were you born? 1935?
Yeah.
This machine says you weren't. All right, 1985, whatever. The machine doesn't say she's lying. Like, that was a cool idea. That does make you wonder why he's randomly studying. Why he's a professor in a tiny village studying psychic phenomena.
Yeah.
So what's this about?
Yeah, there's more. It's one of those like. In its setup, it ends up raising more questions than it answers.
Yeah.
It's not really interested in answering anything.
This one is. It was very atmospheric. It was very spooky, and I think this is my favorite episode of the series so far. But it is very much you pull one string and the jumper begins to collapse.
Yeah,
when it comes
I think
to
I
the plot.
probably agree with that actually.
Like, why is the little girl like? Kind of fine seeing her uncle or granddad or wherever he was being murdered by the angel because she didn't care for him, but has nothing to say about her grandma / auntie, whoever she was. Has nothing to say about that.
Yeah, it's that's a bit weird, isn't it?
And why is the future version of her in the village knowing that she'd go back to this day? Because the Flux has kind of set up the idea, the whole miniseries set up the idea that everything's kind of fucked, really.
Yeah.
so she wouldn't have this memory because this wasn't the thing that always happened.
Yeah.
But I don't hate the idea that she had a vague memory from being a child of someone pointing out a specific gravestone to her. So when she gets older, she becomes obsessed with counting the gravestones in that village because she knows that one day it's going to freak her out or prove something, and she's not quite sure what it is. Where did the vicar end up? We didn't see him again, did we?
Well, yeah, she said that they like to leave some behind, so I'm assuming he just got stoned like the like the granddad did.
Maybe that was weird because she very deliberately said, like they've never done it to the same person twice. And it's like, hang on, wasn't the entire plot of The Angels Take Manhattan that people are being kept in farms in random buildings around the world where the angels are continuously sending them back in their own timeline in that building so that they can feed off the energy of the potential life they had? And that was the whole point of that.
Is it?
Yeah. So it's like, hang on. So maybe it's a choice thing. Maybe it's just the angels fucking with them, and I don't know. I don't hate the angel talking through Claire, and I certainly don't hate the angel talking through the rudimentary CCTV monitor using the professor's own voice.
Indeed.
Because I really like that shit. I like when they fuck around with you like that. That's always really fun. And just how cruel they are. They're just mocking him, and then at the end when they don't attack the Doctor because she realises it's because they're enjoying what's happening right now. They're waiting to see what happens when I step out and see I'm surrounded. The angels make great villains not just because of the simple concept, but because they are absolute fucking bastards when they're written like that, and that's really cool.
They are absolute fucking bastards.
Like, there's some of the few Doctor Who villains that like enjoy being utter twats.
Yeah,
like they really enjoy it. There's no mission of like, oh no, we have no emotions, or all we know is hatred or whatever. It's like, oh, this is fun. And it's like, oh, that's really creepy. Dan and Yaz, they were mostly kind of reduced to just asking questions in this one. Vinder's, again, like, seeing Vinder just having missed Belle was quite fun, and the idea that she'd set coordinates and not quite caught it, but he's going to come looking for her, that was sweet. Again, mostly just because the actors play it so well.
No, I think the performances all round are really good. I just don't think there's anything for them to particularly work with.
What's the Azure passenger thing? Like, why is she randomly imprisoning thousands of survivors on other worlds? Like, is that going to get resolved, or is it just because they're like, you, the viewer, know that they're no good bastards, so we're going to show them kidnapping people? It's like, and? What does any of it mean? Are we going to get the resolution in the next two episodes? Because next week is called Survivors of the Flux, and it looks like a mixture of characters we've seen over the series so far, some including some that don't belong in an earthly time period.
Yeah.
So it's like, are we going to get more amalgamation of everything bleeding into themselves? Because we didn't get Tunnel Bloke this week. He didn't show up.
We didn't.
And we didn't get Carvanista, but we know he's coming next week. And it's just like, where's it leading? How is it, if they're going for that whole thing of it's a mashup of worlds, how is it that Moffat did that better in the opening 5 minutes of The Wedding of River Song? We had like pterodactyls flying around Hyde Park, and like Romans and this, that, and the other, and Charles Dickens on BBC Breakfast and all that stuff. And it was like, what is like, episode opens and you go, the fuck is happening?
Yeah, that was.
What is this? And it's a really interesting open. And, excuse Free McNeese to utter one of my favourite lines to just quote randomly because it just sounds so dumb. Tell me, Doctor, what happened to time? Because just the delivery's so ridiculous in that episode, and especially followed up by Big Beardy Matt Smith going, "A woman." And Churchill giving a face that's like, "Fucking yeah, too right. Tell me a story. Come on, I'm gonna get my cigar out. I'm gonna get my little Churchill out."
Thanks, I hate
it. Will do. But like that opening 5 minutes of that story did the idea of reality crumbling and all the timelines converging in a much more visually interesting and instantly understandable way.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, okay, something's screwed up and now everything's bleeding into each other, and everyone thinks that that's how things have always been, as it keeps changing, and sure. The doctor saying contact is always quite a cute little nod, like the psychic connection thing, and just saying contact. You go, oh yeah, that's what Time Lords do to sync each other up. That's
They
fun.
say contact.
Or do what the 11th Doctor does in The Lodger and just headbutts James Corden.
Well, now that's more fun, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. People are going to kick us if we don't talk about the cliffhanger. So we learn that the angel that's in Claire's head is an angel that's been looking for a place to hide because it apparently has information about the something or other that's going on with
it knows
the division.
Yeah, it's got all the information about the division. All of it.
Specifically because this faction of angels that they're dealing with have been under the employ of, or maybe the enslavement, we haven't learnt yet, but like they have been under the command of the division at some point. And this angel's got all the info, and this woman had a psychic vision and just so happened to have a psychic vision about an angel, and so it latched onto her like telepathically through that and formed inside her head.
Yeah.
Because, when you go back to that first one, I don't think it's the same angel that makes her vanish in the street. So that implies that a different angel was like, it's in there, and zapped her somewhere so that it could...
Oh, that's what they said, isn't it? They said it was after the angel.
It was never after you, it was after the angel in your head. And I don't hate the idea of... Like, we've had the setup that anything that contains the image of an angel can become an angel. So she has a random psychic vision of a weeping angel. That's a weeping angel in her brain. So like, okay, I don't hate that. That's an interesting thought. All right. I thought they used that really well in this. The one in the CCTV that burst through the screen. That looked really cool. My favourite one was the scribbled up drawing that just quietly reformed in the furnace.
That was really neat.
Gave us the excuse for the Doctor to throw it in the fire, and then the same angel just reappears on fire. Like, that was really cool. It's like, that's some weird logic, but I'll take it. The idea
interesting ideas, isn't it? But just poor execution.
In terms of the overall package, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think the director did a bad job. I think the director did a really good job to make it look good.
No.
I think the village was shot really spookily in both daytime and at nighttime.
Yeah. The stuff in the tunnels was great.
Yeah, the stuff in the house felt really tense, especially when you had Thingy locking the back door and sort of keeping his eye on them, and then that realisation 2 minutes later that, well, no one's looking at the kitchen, so you hear the smash of the back door, and you're like, oh, shit. And I always love it when they have the angels move when we can't see them. Like, I'm all for that. Like, when they ring the doorbell, and again, you just realise afterwards they're doing that just to fuck with them.
Yeah.
Like, that's creepy. Like, that's really, really creepy. It was my favourite of the 4 so far, but I don't know if this is going to be worth it. The next 2 weeks will tell, I guess.
Yeah.
If Flux ends with this bit's resolved, but what about this bit? Tune into the first of 3 specials. I'm going to be like, no, Flux off. Come on.
No.
Tell a self-contained story, and then have a little nugget crossover that we can follow into the 3 final ones.
Get fluxed, baby.
Yeah, I want. Trial of a Time Lord ends with a conclusion to Trial of a Time Lord. Like, the key to time doesn't carry on over after the key to time. I don't want Flux to carry on most of its stuff onto whatever's next. It's got to have a wrap up. And
I don't think I want Flux.
Frankly, my dear, I don't flux a flux.
I don't give a flux.
Filth.
And other puns.
You're a pun.
I am a pun, or play on words.
You're a play on word. Have we got any dirty emails in the stink hole?
We've got an email about Afterlife, but as I've not seen it, I'm going to save it for next week.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If it's got spoilers in it, then it needs to be saved.
It may have, but I ain't touching it, just in case.
Don't want to take a peeky just in quas. No, I feel you, bruh. I feel you right in the holes.
Stop feeling me. It's really creepy. Also, how you're reaching through the screen like that. Are you, in fact, a weeping angel?
That which contains the image of an angel is itself an angle. My weeping angel's a weeping angle. It's just the edge of a table that's a bit moist.
I'm telling you now, I hate it.
Do you know what I don't hate, though?
What?
When this lot get in touch. BigDamnContact@gmail.com. Your thoughts on Flux as it happens. Remember, next week, if you watch Survivors of the Flux and send us your thoughts immediately afterwards, they will be in the episode by the time it goes out. So make sure to do that. And also, if you've seen Ghostbusters Afterlife, we're going to go spoiler balls deep on it next week.
If you've seen Ghostbusters Afterlife, spook, spectre, or apparition...
Are you troubled by strange noises in the middle of the night?
We are ready to believe you.
Winston is the best Ghostbuster. Please agree with me by tweeting at us at BigDamnCast. You can also support us with shekels in the penny pot to keep this on the air at patreon.com/BigDamnCast.
You can do all those things. Yeah.
You can do all those things, but until next time, Matthew's going to leave you with some wise words of wisdom as passed on to him from Kevin McNally from the recording of The Twin Dilemma.
When they said it was twins, I thought it'd be more fun.
You don't even know what a Peary is.
Shit business, innit?